Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of One Vision. This is Theo, your host for today's episode. Joining us today, all the way, again, from across the pond, is Martyna Lewinska, founder, advisor, mentor, and I think a whole lot of other things. So we're going to dig into it because you have so many facets of what you do, and you've been through the journey from different sides of the table. So I loved talking to you last time when we met face to face in Amsterdam. So thank you so much for joining me today in the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, all right, before we start, Martyna, for those who might not be familiar with what you do, can you quickly catch us up to speed on what you've been working on? It's been a long summer.
Yes, that's true. Well, first of all, pleasure to be here. In terms of what I do, so I've been I think in tech and SaaS for many, many years. I'm a technology leader, startup advisor. I've had my own startup in the past as well. I've been a co-founder. I've been a CTO. So I do many different things. I think the biggest amount of pleasure I take actually from growing businesses, building products and helping others as well. So that is my main focus.
That's it. That's what I meant. Like, you have many hats, and you just such a pleasure to chat with. I think last time I can't remember how long we talked, but
Long.
it was
It was
it was
long.
good. It was really good. So let's start with the first bit. Technologist. You've built tech organizations from scratch. You've supported founders as a fractional CTO. I didn't even know that was a thing until a couple of years ago, that you actually can be a fractional C-suite leader. You've partnered with financial institutions a lot from different sides of the table again. Of everything you have done, what is the one thing that you had learned through your journey that's kind of unexpected? Like how we often go into things and say, well, it's going to be like this, and I got this. And then you came out from the other side like, wait, this is a little different, but this is a pleasant surprise.
I think for me, like I've been always like, for the majority of my career, focused a lot on the technology aspect of things, how to build a product, how to make something from an idea into like something that exists. And I think the biggest surprise for me was the fact how much I enjoyed growing other people. So helping them, and whether that is building the team, whether that is like seeing like somebody like, okay, they're in point A, and suddenly after working for 2, 3 years with them, you see how they've changed, how much they've grown. I think I take a lot of joy from that, and that was a huge surprise. So being on the managerial side of things, and helping others, to achieve their goals, like help them get to point B and be on the journey with them. That was definitely an unexpected thing, which I enjoyed a lot. The other thing I would say, so one is growing people. The other thing is the moment that you're working on a product and you see it go live. I think there is nothing that beats that moment. There is a little bit of, will it work? Will it break? And you're just watching from every angle, and then you see, okay, it's there, it's working, it's running smoothly. So going from that point, when you like imagine like a couple of months back, we had nothing and suddenly we're launching a product. I think that that feeling is just something amazing, and I don't think anything can beat it, to be honest.
I miss that. Because gosh, how long have I been running the company? It's about eight plus years. I miss the only one part I miss about my corporate days was building things, right? Like either building a new product, or actually one of my the thing I love the most, gosh, it's like 20 years, I'm showing my age, was launching a new network, a new wireless network. That was so much fun because you have all the people coming from different corners. You have all these things that could go wrong, and you're sitting there, you flip the switch, like, okay, all hands on deck. We had tiger teams who were all jammed into the conference room. We're like, is it going to work? Is anything going to fail? And that joy, like you say,
Yeah.
was amazing. I miss those. I'm jealous. You get to do that. So
No,
let's,
it's cool. I'm sure you'll get to do so many different things. I mean, that's amazing. But I think like the energy in the room when that happens, and you like have this final test, you're live, something's happening. Oh, that is addictive for sure.
right. And all the like late nights and everything, just it's worth it.
Comes
It's
together.
worth it.
Yeah.
Yes. So entrepreneurship. You talked about you like to mentor people, you like to help others grow. Um, Knowing what you know, knowing what you're, helping people out and what they do and where they fall and where they can excel nowadays. Looking back in your journey, what would you have advised yourself when you were younger? Would you have changed anything you do?
Probably yes. I think
What is
we learn every day. My biggest advice probably to my younger self, just do it. Forget thinking, like just do it and then figure out the rest. I think that's my biggest advice. Very often we kind of like try to prep too many things in advance. And I think being like on the side of like being an entrepreneur, like being a founder, it's all about doing things. It's all about execution. All the other things you can kind of like put them together on the while you're on the go.
it?
That's my for sure biggest advice.
What do you think people normally misunderstand about being a founder? Because from the outside, right, it's so glamorous. You get to do your own thing. You have freedom. You bring a vision to execution. But there's a lot more to being a founder than that.
Yeah, I think responsibility as well.
Mm.
And that's not just being a founder, but generally being a business owner. It's like there's that you're responsible from others, you're responsible for the product, you're responsible for your customers, what they receive. So everybody thinks about the aspect, the cool stuff, like, oh, we're building a product, we're launching something, but you also have a team to think about. You also have your customers to think about. You make certain promises, whether that is to your other business partners, whether that is to VCs, whether there's always some promises. And with that comes responsibility of actually making things a reality. And other thing that is often forgotten, I think, in all of those glamorous posts and everything on the internet is how much work it is. It's really 24/7. It's you're never off. Like even if you think you're off because you don't hold your phone in your hand right now, I guarantee that like 100% of your brain power goes towards thinking about your venture. So you're constantly on it, and I think it's incredibly hard to turn off that mode. But sometimes you have to because that's how you rest as well and you regroup. So that's often forgotten and misunderstood. It's just like you're constantly on, and you need to be in order to achieve something.
I can't agree more. I think that's the toughest part is when you don't have that predictability. And it's your own business, it's your own baby, and you're constantly thinking, what can I do? What have I missed? What can I do better? What more can I do? How should I change things? In some ways, I think it's almost like it feels like a privilege to be a founder, right? Because you need to be able to have that mental ability and the space, truthfully, to be able to do all those. And in the US, on top of everything else, you also need to have to be able to afford entrepreneurship because we have our healthcare tied up with long-term employment. So if you're a founder, chances are you don't really have insurance. So you need to go figure all this out. It's what else would you have changed other than knowing all of those things, responsibility, you want to just do it. What are some of the traits that you look for in founders that you tell them, hey, here are the additional things that this is what I like about being a founder?
I would say
Freedom.
execution. No, freedom. Freedom is
No.
one thing. Like there is freedom, sure, there is certain amounts of freedom, but again, we come back to the responsibility part. But I think being a founder is good for people that are obsessed about results, products. Like I
Type
don't
A.
think yes. You gotta be like you need to have that obsession because you need to constantly think about it. I think the best ideas come when you're not looking for them, uh, and that's what being a founder is. So you're constantly on. So for me, like that obsession about like solving the problem, building something, and the responsibility. I think those are two things that definitely I would say a founder needs to have. I mean, on the pro side, yes, there is freedom, but it comes at a price. I mean, you mentioned some things that are like true for US. I think they're slightly different in Europe. So I do believe that on that note, we have sometimes maybe like slightly easier because we don't need to think about all those different things. But yeah, the freedom is there, but the freedom means that probably at 2 a.m. at night, you're suddenly wake up and you think, oh, there was this thing. And I don't think like when you're not a founder, I don't think you often do that. When you're a founder, like it will be on your mind. So it will eat up most of your attention as well. So that's probably for others like that are thinking about launching a venture. It's like be prepared for how much you will actually end up caring about the thing you're creating. It doesn't matter at which pace you will be going. I guarantee you that it will be constantly on your mind.
Yes. Oh, this almost feels like having a child, isn't it? It's like
It
having
does,
another
I
child,
guess.
and right? And then you have to grow them. So, on the flip side, let's talk about companies that you've worked with. What patterns do you typically see in terms of companies that can implement emerging tech? Because I can't get by, I wouldn't even say a day. I can't even get by a few hours without seeing and reading and hearing someone talking about AI and blockchain, digital assets, cryptocurrency, stable coins lately. But there is something about, and you and I had talked about this before, there's something about wanting to do something, right? A vision of sorts or wish list, and then being able to your point, execute and implement them successfully outside of just a POC. What are some patterns that you see when in terms of that?
Yeah, so I think the biggest pattern is that pick something small and be very specific about what is the outcome you want to achieve and start
Okay.
there. And if you actually go from something small and achievable, then it's way easier to implement all those different strategies. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about, AI and how you can leverage that in your company, but everybody wants to treat it as I don't know, something magical. We say AI and suddenly all problems are solved. But realistically speaking, like when you go deeper into what are the bottlenecks in your company, what are the things that are slowing you down, you will be able to probably list the top 10 and you'll be able to go down deep into the actual, I don't know, processes, operation tasks, things that you need to do, and then try to implement AI in those. Once you kind of like check the first box of the first thing, move on to the next one, move on to the next one. And at the end of the day, in a couple of months or, whatever the timeline is, you'll see the benefit of implementing certain things. But don't go for something big because I think that's too much. First, understand how to use it. Whether that is something in the processes in the company, whether that is something in how people operate in your company, start there. But pick one to begin with. Don't focus on everything at the same time.
Don't boil the ocean. um, or don't get too excited. I think that seems to be one of the challenges. So the other thing I hear people talk a lot about is they don't quite know how to measure the ROI. I almost feel
Mhm.
like part of that goes back to what you were saying. Go back to the fundamentals, the basics. What's stopping you? What do you need to do? What are the bottlenecks? Because unless you can identify those, it's hard to say, what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah.
That almost seems logical. What do you see the biggest opportunities are in the space right now? What gets you most
Uh,
excited?
I think how the market is changing right now and how everybody's more, I think, open towards the experimentation, especially in the regulated businesses, where I think historically there's been a little bit of pushback in terms of like trying new things because I mean certain things have been done certain way for so many years. Why change it? And I think what AI is doing right now is accelerating, so like accelerating things that normally would take probably next 5, 10 years for the regulators or different markets to just adopt. And right now that is happening way quicker than before. I think that's the beauty of whatever's happening in the market. So things where you can actually implement new technologies way quicker and you can show very quickly the return of investment. I mean, you mentioned that already, but whether we're talking, let's say, I don't know, fraud prevention or fraud detection, uh, there is so many metrics you can use to check the before and after, and it's such an easy sale to show, right? So I think because there's more like POCs being done, more initiatives launched like this, and I think people are more focused about measuring the impact. So it's way easier when you have the hard numbers in hand and you can show, okay, that was before, this is the after. Do you want more of it? Um, I think it makes the conversation way easier, especially when you're talking about like convincing the stakeholders, convincing the C-suites, but also convincing bringing the regulator into the conversation and allowing them to, prepare everything for the wider adoption.
You said the magic word, fraud. Because when I think about all the things that technology can do, or even take technology out, right? All the things that we can be doing more, where the solution is there for us to be able to improve what we're doing. Fraud is a big space. And I read recently where it talked about while the problems of financial crime has increased exponentially because of the tools that the bad actors are able to have access to, the number of financial institutions that's actually using technology available to better detect fraud hasn't really gone up. I think it was somewhere around 40 something percent of FIs are looking at or using AI to detect fraud. It's a huge gap because, like you say, right, the metrics is there is easily you can look at the before and after, and it should have been an easy sell. What should they have been doing more? Why do you think there is such a big gap?
I think it's probably a couple of things, depending on the organization. One is the approach where it's been working for many years, it's gonna continue to work the way it is, so we don't need to invest in that aspect. The other thing is probably underestimating the bad actors as well. I mean, the bad actors are always going to use the best available tech to cheat, to do what they do,
Mm-hmm.
right? To commit the fraud. And I think companies should acknowledge that they also need to use the best of the tech available. So it has to be a leveled playing field in a way. And if the bad actors are using the best, and we on the side of companies are like stuck in like 10 years ago, we're not experimenting, we're not innovating the solutions. I mean, there's the gap is going to increase. So I think that part, but also allowing for the time for experimentation. I think maybe launching certain programs where there's some pilots that can be, done. There is a lot of uncertainty in terms of how you can trust the certain tools that are using AI. And yes, there is a need for human in the loop. But I mean, when there is a lot of data, probably it's smart choice to also like clean up everything, do some experiments, check what's working, and then leverage. But again, you need to do it with hard data in hands, with some numbers in order to convince. But I think that the worry is that it's just not going to be as good as whatever we were producing before when we had 20 people on the team. And that's a real worry. So I think only with having like hard results, with how things are performing, how the solutions are working, and I think more research done on that part, uh, only then we're going to be in a better position to fight the fraud.
Do you think part of that could also be cultural? Or do you see any differences in terms of attitude between different countries or different types of financial institutions? Because you do travel quite a bit.
I think, yes, different countries have different approaches. That's 100% true. Some are more leaning towards, okay, let's bring the new tech, let's be innovative, let's try to come up with something and to be better at what we're doing. Some are more afraid of, okay, AI is going to take away my job, and what will we do? So there's a few aspects to it, but I mean, it's been true for any technology.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now, when we're talking about fraud, compliance, when we're talking about, let's talk about fintechs as a general, right? Historically, for fintechs, it's been way easier to implement the new technologies than for huge banks. And the reason is because they're smaller, they're more lean, the team is, tiny. So it's easy to, show something to the team, and the team just, goes with it and adapts it. I think for bigger organizations, it's just simply harder, but these are the organizations that set the tone for the industry. So I do think there should be more buy-in from the bigger players, not just the constantly evolving fintechs that are trying to change the landscape a little bit, because if things are not done a certain way in big organizations, then still there will be a lack of adoption. And I think, yes, in different countries, this is approached differently. So all the innovation hubs are definitely doing a good job. I think the regulators are definitely trying to create spaces for more innovation, and that should be the direction: more innovation, more time spent on trying things out.
I that seems like a constant question, and you're right. It's not just about AI. It's traditionally just thinking any technology change and implementing in different FIs. Because in here we see it a very interesting pattern. You have the JPMs of the world, you have the Capital One, the bigger banks, right? That have the people simply and the budget to try things. Whereas these smaller financial institutions, they are more, they have less staff, right? They have less people, less resources. And so it's a little bit harder from that side. But on the flip side, though, because they're smaller, it's easier for them to bring in technology and do POCs than when it's a big bank. It might take half a year just to navigate through exactly who you need to work with. So it's an interesting situation in here that we're seeing. Although I do hope that we'll see more concrete results rather than just saying, oh, we're testing all these POCs, and majority of it, you don't actually hear what happened after. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think the fact that there are things happening, but you don't necessarily know what is the result of the experiment, what is the result of the POC. We need more of that. And I think once there is a hard proof, okay, we've done this pilot, it works okay, we're going to implement it. There's less stories than this that are like that, right? So I think I do agree with the bigger corporation versus the smaller fintech. There's also one aspect that should be mentioned is the risk. And again, bigger corporations need to think more about like the consequences. Startups typically tend to take like bigger risks. And that's just the way it is, because if you have 20 people instead of 200 that are able to solve the issue for you, you need to be, innovative. You need to think outside the box. And that's when you kind of like consider, okay, we're going to risk it right now. We're going to not risk it, but we're going to allow ourselves to take a bigger risk to test it out. Because again, I think that's in the DNA of the founders. That's in the DNA of all the people that work in small organizations. It's okay to try things out. If not, we're going to quickly adapt and try something new. Whereas if in a bigger corporation, you need to take half a year to just like let it yes, we can go for something. And then if you think there's going to be another half a year to even change the strategy, it's just the price you're paying when you're much bigger.
Yep, opportunity cost.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I have a fun question I want to ask you. And the idea came from my kids actually a couple of years ago. Both of them, they had a school project where they said they have to put a time capsule together and they had to put 3 things. And mommy is the safekeeper for that. So I have both of those and I'm not allowed to touch it. And they said, you're the only one that we can trust. We'll keep it. You can keep it. And then you remind us in 20 years. So I'm going to ask you this. If you can put 3 things in the time capsule, and you can open that in 20 years, what would that be and why?
That's a hard question.
It's a fun question. No, I know, but it's a fun one though.
It's the toughest one today.
That's what, this is funny. That's what everyone tells me is tough because it's something different. Our brain is not wired to think like that anymore. And then you wanted to do something meaningful and something different. I'll give you a hint. So someone who on the show, she told me that she wanted to have a bottle of clean water. And then she wanted to have a bottle of just air because her hypothesis is in 20 years, our world is going to be so different. And she wants something to remind her of how it was. That was sad.
So good. But that's so good. I mean, in a way, it's like, well, I don't think I'll be able to come up with something so good, but I want to meet that person.
Yeah, she is amazing. Oh my God, you would actually love her. She's amazing. And she works in AI and tech.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think hard of my answer. I think 3 things. Probably one, something from the tech world. I mean, that's been my life. So I think I would put something that we consider like an industry standard best practices right now, whatever piece of code, like the ways of working, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And I think in 20 years it's going to be challenged a lot.
Yes. You might actually have a bot that tells you this is not right.
Oh, there you go. Where second thing, I think probably some paper like on the future of digital finance or the future of AI, whatever the predictions are, to try to, when we open this thing in 20 years, to try to like have a laugh about what we all thought it would be and how it would change things, whether that actually happened or not. Um, Third thing, I don't know, some memories from all the festivals I go to, like music, just to see like how it has been done 20 years ago. Because I do sense that in 20 years, like, you know how it's changed right now that everybody's with their phones, nobody's really enjoying the event anymore when they're at the concert. I
And
think I would
looking
want
down, taking
something.
pictures. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to like remember how it was like 20 years ago in 20 years time. So I would take something from that world as well.
I like that. I recently had a conversation with someone about how we used to enjoy music. So we're both Gen Xers, and we talked about, how in the old days we had cassette tapes and we'll sit by the radio, we'll record the music, and then it evolved to, CDs, and then it evolved to Napster, where you just download the MP3s, and now we have streaming, right? Like, just think about medium perspective has changed so much. I would love to put a floppy disk.
Wow.
Remember those?
I
That
remember
would
those.
be
Yes,
cool.
I do.
That would be cool. Because I remember I was cleaning out things and I showed my kids. They were like, what is
They
this
like
thing?
them.
I'm like, oh, back in the day, we had these machines. You had the slot and you put it in. That's how you read files. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's amazing how it all changes so quickly. So I think, especially when you're talking about 20 years, it's a lot, especially for like technology, finance, how we operate. And yeah, so it would be, I need to check like what others answered as well, but I love the question.
It's just interesting in a way to make you think. Um, you know, is a reflective question, if anything else.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good
but
one.
thank you so much for joining me today. Before we go, actually, where can our audience find you and your blogs?
Oh, just follow me on LinkedIn, definitely. And you can check out my website as well, martynalewinska.com. And I always make sure to make time for all the people that are trying something new as founders wannabes as well. So feel free to schedule a meeting with me as well, and we can take it from there.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that we put that in the show notes. And until next time, thank you so much for joining us. And for the rest of our listeners, we'll talk to you all next week.